Kirtop here, and these are 100 ancient creatures that have forever left this world. Jurassic Period Underwater Monster. On the Jurassic coast of England, in Dorset, archaeologists discovered the giant skull of a sea monster. This 2-meter skull belongs to a pliosaur, a mighty marine predator that lived 150 million years ago. The fossil, one of the best preserved, was found by Steve Etches, a paleontologist from Dorset, who now plans to complete it with the rest of the skeleton. The impressive size of the skull and its excellent preservation make it a unique specimen. In paleontology, the skull includes the lower jaw connected to the rest of it, just like in a living reptile. Especially remarkable are the 130 teeth, long and sharp, with thin ridges on the back, allowing them to be quickly pulled out of the prey's flesh. The pliosaur, measuring 10 to 12 meters in length and having 4 powerful, flipper-like limbs, was the most dangerous predator of the Jurassic oceans. Its powerful bite and unique tooth structure made it the perfect killing machine. According to Dr. Andrea Rowe from the University of Bristol, the pliosaur could hunt anything that crossed its path. After examining the skull and determining the bite force of the pliosaur, it turned out to be twice as powerful as the jaws of saltwater crocodiles, the strongest among modern animals. The presence of specialized glands and a third eye in the pliosaur also indicates highly developed sensory organs. The mummy of a mysterious creature. There are still many mysteries on our planet that continuously present archaeologists and scientists with new puzzles. And in Yakutia, Russia, an unusual discovery was made by accident. For now, archaeologists together with scientists are trying to figure out who they found there. A dinosaur, a previously unknown species of animal, or maybe even a Siberian chupacabra. The story began when workers brought soil from a local diamond mine. One of the workers noticed a strange creature among the stones. It turned out to be a mummy. At first, he thought it was a small dinosaur, since workers had already found fossilized eggs here that looked like ostrich eggs. The find was in a layer of diamond sands from the Mesozoic era, 50 to 260 million years old. This could have been a real sensation. Thanks to the cold Siberian climate and the permafrost, the remains of this mysterious creature were perfectly preserved. The workers handed the mummy over to scientists who at first couldn't determine what kind of animal it was. They photographed it and sent the pictures to their colleagues. Within a day, it turned out that it wasn't a dinosaur, but an ordinary sable. This mammal resembles a small, agile bear with a long body and sharp teeth. Thus, the find turned out to be relatively recent. But how the sable ended up in the multi-million-year-old soil is something scientists still can't understand. The animal likely crawled into a burrow, fell into a deep crevice, and eventually became a mummy. Even though this mummy turned out not to be a dinosaur, but just a sable, this story will help people realize that there is still much unknown on our planet. Who knows, maybe one day workers will actually discover a real fossilized dinosaur mummy, or even something more unusual and mysterious. But for now, let's travel to ancient Egypt. The last photographs of extinct animals. The Red Data Book is often mentioned as a symbol of protecting endangered species, but few people know about the existence of the Black Book, a sad catalog of animals and plants lost forever. This document serves as a bitter reminder that over the past 5 centuries, we have lost 847 species. Today, I want to talk about some animals that went extinct due to humans in the last century, whose last individuals were captured in photos or videos. The Barbary lion, which lived in North Africa, disappeared in the 1920s. Huge and powerful, with a majestic mane, this lion was exterminated because it was harmful to livestock, especially after the appearance of firearms. The last lion was killed in 1922. The thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, lived in Australia and New Guinea. Later, it was driven out to Tasmania by dingoes. Farmers started shooting them when thylacines began attacking livestock. In 1936, the last thylacine died in a zoo, but its appearance was preserved on video. The Bali tiger, which lived on the island of Bali, was one of the smallest tigers. Hunting of these tigers began in the 1910s, and in 1937, the last female was killed, which led to the extinction of the species. The Mexican grizzly, which inhabited areas of Mexico and the United States, was last seen in 1960. Despite the ban on hunting these bears in 1959, they disappeared due to hunting and loss of habitat. These stories are just a small part of the tragic fates of animals that disappeared because of human activity. There are legends that modern humans encountered living mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, and supposedly these photographs confirm their recent existence. The most indecent animal of the ancient world. Bonacon, a beast from medieval bestiaries, amazed and amused people with its unusual abilities. This creature, mentioned in ancient text, spewed fire from its rear, burning its pursuers. The idea of the Bonacon has attracted attention for over 1,000 years, starting with Pliny the Elder, who described it under the name Bonasus. This mythical beast, with a mane like a horse and the body of a bull, used an unusual form of defense by flinging dung over a great distance. Aristotle, who laid the foundations of zoology, also mentioned this animal under the name Menopos, indicating that it lived in Paeonia, a region north of Macedonia. The uniqueness of the Menopo lies in its ability to fling excrement with such force that it could form a protective barrier around the females during childbirth. The question of the real-life prototype of these creatures remains open. Researchers suggest that the legend may have been based on encounters with wild bulls, such as aurochs or bison. However, the fantastic details suggest, as with many other medieval myths, that they may have been the result of misunderstandings or jokes by ancient observers who sought to amaze or entertain their contemporaries. Is it possible to resurrect dinosaurs? Dinosaurs are amazing creatures that ruled the Earth for millions of years until they disappeared about 66 million years ago. They have always fascinated people who strive to recreate their way of life and appearance. However, the question of whether it is possible to resurrect dinosaurs using modern science is of particular interest. DNA is a fragile molecule that stores genetic information and quickly decomposes after the organism's death. The chances of finding intact DNA in fossils are very small, although sometimes it is preserved in cold or dry conditions. At the moment, the oldest DNA sample is about 1 million years old and belongs to a mammoth. Findings of dinosaur DNA from animals that went extinct 66 million years ago have not yet been confirmed. Interest in resurrecting dinosaurs leads to the study of other molecules, such as proteins. They can provide information about an organism's DNA, but cannot fully recreate it. In 2007, fragments of collagen were discovered in a Tyrannosaurus bone, which was sensational, but also raised many questions. However, despite progress in studying ancient molecules, we are still unable to recreate dinosaurs. But besides recreating DNA, there are many other reasons why this is impossible at the moment. One of the main reasons is the climate. With our current level of oxygen in the atmosphere, a dinosaur wouldn't survive even a single day. Trilobites can reveal the history of the ancient world. Trilobites are ancient marine arthropods that disappeared from the face of the Earth about 250 million years ago. But their fossils continue to reveal the secrets of the ancient world. Scientists from Thailand have discovered 10 new species of trilobites in the Koh Taro Tau area, dating back to the late Cambrian period, about 490 million years ago. One of the species was even named in honor of the Chinese princess Mahachakri Sirindorn. These fossils were found in tuff, a rock formed as a result of a volcanic eruption. Scientists used radioisotope methods to analyze the zircon contained in the tuff and determine the age of these layers as 497 to 485 million years. These findings are key to understanding the Cambrian period, which has remained little studied until now. In addition, 12 more species of trilobites were discovered, already known in other parts of the world, but found in Thailand for the first time, which provides new data about the history of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana. The analysis of tuff not only helps determine the age of the fossils, but can also provide new insights into the history of other regions, including China, Australia, and North America. According to geologist Shelley Vernette, these fossils are a record of evolutionary changes, allowing us to better understand the processes taking place on the planet today. The mermaid from India. Few have heard of the Chandraketugarh Archaeological Complex in India, which is located about 35 kilometers from Calcutta. Chandraketugarh was a thriving port city involved in international trade, where people lived from 400 BC to 1250 AD. Today, only the ruins of a 10th century brick Buddhist temple remain at this site. Interest in Chandraketugarh arose due to the many terracotta artifacts dating back to the Shunga period, that is, from the 2nd to the 1st centuries BC. Most of them were stolen or taken abroad, and only a few fragments have been preserved in Indian museums. Although the site was discovered in 1906, the Archaeological Survey of India, under British control, did not conduct any excavations here. Many of the stolen items are now in museums around the world, such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art. 2 terracotta plaques depict a mermaid, a rather rare image for Indian culture. On one, the mermaid is swimming near a lake, holding something that resembles a mirror or a flower. People on the shore look at her as if she were a marvel. The great chief has come in a chariot to see this creature. In the other plaque, fishermen have caught the mermaid in a net. People are waving at her, and she responds to them without showing any fear. Looking at these reliefs, I wondered, could they be a reflection of ancient legends or real events that took place in Chandraketugarh 2,200 years ago? Perhaps mermaids were not a product of imagination, but real sea creatures in ancient times. Write in the comments below the video whether you believe in the existence of mermaids or something similar, because it's no coincidence that the depths of the seas and oceans remain unexplored to this day. A new ecosystem beneath the sea floor. With the help of an underwater robot, a team of scientists from different parts of the world, including Dr. Monica Bright, discovered an amazing ecosystem in volcanic cavities. And yes, this is in a place where the temperature can reach up to 368 degrees Celsius. Previously, we thought that life couldn't exist there. Amidst the dark waters and hot springs, scientists found a world inhabited by colorful worms, mollusks, crabs, and even bacteria that feed on minerals instead of sunlight. Incredible, isn't it? And the most interesting thing? Some of these creatures, like giant worms, riftia, and Poceptila, travel through the ocean floor, exploring new corners of their underwater home. However, researchers warn that our curiosity and desire for resources could threaten this unique world. We should respect the mysterious creatures in the ocean's depths. Australopithecus dearamida. Meet Lucy's new relative on our human family tree. Scientists led by Dr. Johannes Haile Selassie have discovered a new species of human ancestor dating back 3.3 to 3.5 million years. These are very ancient and unique findings. After studying the jaws found in the Afar region of Ethiopia, scientists named them Australopithecus dearamida. Interestingly, this ancestor lived at the same time as the well-known Lucy. The species of Lucy, or Australopithecus afarensis, existed from 2.9 to 3.8 million years ago, and its lifespan overlapped with the new species. Australopithecus dearamida differs from Lucy's species in the shape and size of its teeth and jaws, which tells us that they ate different foods. Scientists have long debated whether there could have been only one species of human ancestor existing at the same time between 3 and 4 million years ago, which then evolved into another new species. But this new discovery changes everything. This finding is important for our understanding of the ecology of early human ancestors. Now we have new questions about how different human ancestors living at the same time and in the same geographic area could have used the shared land and available resources. The oldest spider in Germany. Meet Arthrolycosa voltebecki. This little guy lived here about 310 to 315 million years ago, when northern Germany was still at the equator and covered by tropical forests. The spider belongs to the ancient group of segmented spiders, which today can only be found in East Asia. Did you know that spiders weren't always as common as they are today? Scientists believe that 300 million years ago, in tropical forests, they were extremely rare. And this makes spider fossils from that time even more unique. Until now, only 11 species were known that could be definitely identified as spiders. Meet the 12th. The fossilized remains of Archaeological Walterbekai were found in the Peisberg quarry near Osnabrück. This discovery breaks a record as the fossil is 310 to 315 million years old. This makes Archaeological the oldest spider in Germany. Researcher Jason Dunlop notes that the fossil is well preserved. You can even see the spinneret glands, as well as hairs and claws on the legs. This indicates that Archaeological is a true spider, not just a spider-like creature. This ancient spider spent most of its life in a burrow, surrounded by webbing that acted as trip lines to warn the spider of approaching prey. Ancient egg. This stone potato measures 20 by 30 centimeters and has been lying in the frozen ground for, 68 million years. That means its time was the time of the dinosaurs. This object held many mysteries, and it was simply called this thing. But one day, a researcher suggested that it could be the egg of an ancient creature. It might seem like nonsense, an egg without bones inside and of such a gigantic size. It was the egg of a mosasaur, a terrifying sea creature, about 17 meters long and weighing around 15 tons. Scientists came to this conclusion when they found the skeletons of small mosasaurs nearby. This egg was unusual. It looked more like a giant cellophane bag that the hatchlings could easily tear. Underwater, it deformed and became fossilized. That's why the egg turned out to be so unusual. Fossils of giant sea creatures. Now let's take a trip to the North Island of New Zealand, where unique prehistoric remains were recently discovered. And all this is thanks to the natural phenomenon we know as Cyclone Gabrielle. It raged here, washing away thick layers of dirt and sand from rocks and boulders, and uncovered these ancient finds. Among these treasures were 2 fossilized vertebrae, which paleontologists believe may have belonged to an elasmosaur. This is a giant marine reptile with a long neck, which in its time could reach a length of 14 meters. A vertebra was also found, which may have belonged to a mosasaur, another huge marine reptile that was considered the top predator in the oceans during the age of dinosaurs. Cyclone Gabrielle left behind a sad story. It was the deadliest cyclone since 1968, resulting in the deaths of 11 people. But despite all its destructive power, it also revealed secrets of the past to us, brought out from the depths of mountain streams and rivers. Within its reach lies the Manga Taniwha forest, which is considered a treasure trove of the Cretaceous period. The first dinosaur was discovered here in 1975. If there is a place that can be called the epicenter of New Zealand paleontology, it is undoubtedly Manga Taniwha, and especially the Mangahawanga stream, a mysterious creature in the Arctic. Now we are going on an amazing adventure into the very heart of the Arctic, an icy desert that holds many secrets, and today, one of them will reveal itself to us a little. Meet the little monster. And although at first glance the word monster brings to mind images of giant, scary creatures, our hero is not like that. This monster is not because of its size, but because of how unusual it is. Its size, surprisingly, is modest, but its uniqueness is what truly makes it a real monster. This super interesting little one was discovered by the American geologist James Dwight Dana back in the 19th century. He was so amazed that he called it Monstrillo. And here comes the most surprising part. Modern scientists encountered the same creature in 2014. You might think it's something similar to a shrimp. That's right, except its size is just a few millimeters. Our little monster has a flat head with antennae, 4 pairs of legs, and only 1 eye. Moreover, it has a few more amazing features that make it even more unique. But what really amazed us was that this tiny cyclops was found not as a larva, but as an adult creature. You see, our little monster, despite its size, is important for the ecosystem of our planet. This flat-headed monster confirmed that the eternal ice of the Arctic hides thousands of secrets. And this icy desert is like a giant refrigerator, preserving all these secrets in perfect condition. They came back to life after 46,000 years. Imagine sleeping for 46,000 years. Waking up would be hard, right? But not for some little worms. That's exactly how long nematodes lay in the Siberian permafrost before scientists successfully revived them. These tiny creatures belong to the Panagrolamus and Plectus species and were found at a depth of 40 meters. Using radiocarbon dating, scientists determined that the worms fell asleep during the late Pleistocene period, which is about 46,000 years ago. Experts extracted samples from the permafrost in the Kolyma region. According to Professor Timuris Kurchali, the lead author of the study, the worms were given food and water, and they woke up. They lived for about a month, and during that time, managed to go through more than 100 generations. This example may help us understand how species could survive over long periods of time, and may even give us a chance to revive extinct species. Moreover, these nematodes deserve a place in the Guinness Book of Records because they slept longer than any other creatures known to us. A mysterious imprint underground. Another puzzling discovery was made by archaeologists in Israel, in the old city of Jerusalem. In a previously buried massive moat, researchers found an engraved handprint on the wall. Scientists were conducting excavations near one of the city's main thoroughfares. It is believed that the moat was dug by Muslim defenders of the city around the 10th century to strengthen the protection of the city walls. Archaeologists had no idea that one of the city's most important streets was built right over a huge moat. Interestingly, the moat was carved directly into the rock. It is 10 meters wide and between 2 and 7 meters deep. Archaeologists still cannot understand why ancient builders left a handprint more than 1,000 years ago. Interestingly, this handprint could have belonged to a ruler or a priest, or even to an ordinary builder with a sense of humor. As we all know, moats were dug to be filled with water. In our case, the moat was never filled with water. Ancient engineers believed that the size of this barrier would be enough to hold back or slow down the enemy. Mammoth remains in Kyrgyzstan. On June 2nd, in the floodplain of the Jergalin River in the Issyk-Kul region of Kyrgyzstan, a tusk and fragments of a mammoth's lower jaw were discovered. Archaeologists who arrived at the request of the Ministry of Culture found that the fragments were located at a depth of 3 to 5 meters and at a distance of 140 to 150 meters from each other. Due to the poor preservation of the bones, the archaeologists exercised special caution to ensure their safety, as the bones quickly deteriorate when exposed to sunlight. The specialist managed to extract only part of the skull, which was cleaned and preserved on site. The discovery of remains in 2 different locations within the same quarry indicates the potential of this area for future finds. Officials urged citizens to ensure the preservation of historical and cultural heritage sites and to report any finds to archaeologists. Giant snails. Scientists have found the earliest evidence that humans ate giant snails. In a cave in southern Africa, paleontologists found fragments of shells from large land snails, estimated to be between 70,000 and 170,000 years old. Previously, scientists knew that humans ate snails about 49,000 years ago in Africa and around 36,000 years ago in Europe. But these ancient shells showed signs of heating, possibly from cooking, and scientists concluded that humans ate snails much earlier than previously thought. The discovery suggests that our ancestors who lived in the cave deliberately ate snails. Snail meat is very nutritious. It is rich in protein, iron, potassium, calcium, and omega-3 fatty acids. It is believed that the ancient giant snail shells belong to the ancestors of modern snails that were the size of a human hand and weighed more than 1 kilogram. In other words, snails had a lot of good quality meat. Today, people eat snails all over the world, including the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, Northeast India, Nepal, and South America. Before this study, archaeologists believed that people started regularly eating snails and other small animals only after the end of the last ice age. But new evidence contradicts this point of view. Numerous archaeological excavations have been carried out in Border Cave, which is in southern Africa. Fragments of shells were found there as well, which ranged in color from beige to brown and gray. Since heating can change the color of a shell, the variety of shades indicates that they were exposed to fire. To disprove this theory, scientists heated modern fragments of giant land snail shells to temperatures ranging from 200 to 550 degrees Celsius for different periods of time, from 5 minutes to 36 hours. They observed changes in the color of the shells, weight loss, destruction, and changes in the chemical composition of the fragments. The color of the new shells changed to white or gray, like some of the ancient fragments, and heating also caused the formation of small cracks, similar to those found on the old shells. The easily digestible fatty protein of snails could have been an important food source for elderly people and small children who cannot chew hard food as well. Leaving the delicious snails behind, we'll head back to Asia, where an unusual tomb awaits us. Who dominated the seas 470 million years ago? Nowadays, the seas and oceans hide a huge number of giant living creatures. However, 500 million years ago, there were even more creatures, and their size was incredible. During excavations in southern Morocco, paleontologists discovered giant fossils of free-swimming arthropods. This discovery made it possible to learn about new sea creatures that lived on our planet 470 million years ago. At the same time, crustaceans and insects up to 2 meters long lived alongside them. The Taychuta region in southern Morocco was underwater in those distant years, but now it's a desert. As you know, it's much easier to conduct excavations in the desert than deep in the ocean. Scientists have discovered a huge number of ancient arthropod remains, and it can already be said that they were at least 2 meters long. The first such creatures appeared on our planet 530 to 550 million years ago. Scientists have been trying for a long time to understand when they began to dominate the marine ecosystem and to study the evolution of modern insects, crustaceans, and other invertebrates. Not far from Taychuta is the world-famous Fezawata Shale. They are considered one of the 100 most important geological sites in the world because they play a crucial role in understanding the evolution of animals in the early Ordovician. In this region, paleontologists often find soft parts of animals, such as internal organs. This allows for a very thorough study of the ancient world. However, it's much easier to study history when the findings aren't so ancient. An extremely rare discovery. A rare mastodon tusk was found in Florida, which became a real sensation. 29-year-old Alec Lundberg, while diving with his friend near Venice Beach, came across this unique find. Usually only prehistoric shark teeth and fragments of mammoth tusks are found in this area, which makes Lundberg's discovery especially valuable. Experts from the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature in Bradenton confirmed the authenticity of the tusk, noting it as extremely rare. Lundberg still has to notify the Florida Museum of Natural History to assess the scientific significance of the find. Mastodon tusks are usually only a few inches long and sell for $20 to $350. However, Lundberg's find could be worth around $5,000. Interestingly, the tusk did not fall apart when it was lifted from the sea floor. Mastodons, which lived 5.4 million years ago and became extinct about 10,000 years ago, were relatives of modern elephants. Their fossils are usually found in Pliocene and Pleistocene deposits. Interestingly, mastodon fossils, including tusks, bones, and skulls, are usually found only in 4 American states: Indiana, Colorado, California, and New York. Therefore, the discovery in Florida is a rare and significant find. The so-called Skeleton Coast is a stretch of coastline 40 kilometers wide and 500 kilometers long in Namibia, a place that is both hostile and mesmerizing. Here, the cold and unpredictable Benguela Current in the Atlantic Ocean meets the desert landscape of northwestern Namibia, dotted with dunes. The name Skeleton Coast comes from the huge number of whales washed ashore, whose skeletons could be seen everywhere. The indigenous Ovahimba people, living in the northeast of Namibia, used whale bones to build their huts. Many ships were wrecked on the Skeleton Coast because of thick fog, rough seas, unpredictable currents, and stormy winds. Sailors who managed to reach the shore had no chance of survival on this inhospitable coast and died of thirst. Despite the hostile nature of the Skeleton Coast, many wild animals live here, adapted to life in the desert. In addition, some plants have amazingly adapted to the rainless conditions of the Skeleton Coast, relying solely on the daily fog from the Atlantic Ocean. Here grow welwitchias, narra melons, succulent lithops, often called living stones, lichens, and pencil bushes. Fast dragons. Scientists from an international team have discovered in Mongolia the remains of a unique species of dinosaur that had an unusual sleeping posture, similar to that of modern birds. These fossils, dated to be 71 million years old, were found in the Barun Goyat Formation in the Gobi Desert. It was previously assumed that the findings belonged to non-flying birds of the small theropod family Alvarezsauриdae. But a thorough analysis of the bones allowed scientists to reclassify the remains as Maniraptoran dinosaurs. The scientific community even gave them a new name, Jackalinicus yarui, which translates as swift tiny dragon. These dinosaurs were about 1 meter tall and weighed approximately 30 kilograms. Remains of the last crocodile in Europe. Crocodiles migrated to Europe from Africa, but climate changes led to their extinction. In the province of Granada, Spain, paleontologists found a crocodile tooth that is about 4.5 million years old. This specimen was one of the last in Europe. It is believed that about 6.2 million years ago, crocodiles crossed the dried-up floor of the Mediterranean Sea, moving from Africa to Europe. Excavations at this site began in the 2000s. During this time, more than 2,000 fossils have been discovered here, including remains of elephants, reptiles, and fish. The recently discovered tooth, according to scientists, belonged to a crocodile closely related to modern African Nile crocodiles, the extinct American lion. A lion today can weigh up to 200 kilograms. In ancient times, as we know, everything was much bigger. So, in the territory of the United States, there lived a lion that was twice as big as those living today, and these were the largest cats that lived in the United States about 11,000 years ago. Climate change has a negative impact on historical sites. However, sometimes it even helps preserve ancient artifacts in good condition. In October of this year, a resident of Mississippi found a rare fossil of the American lion in the river of the same name. It was the jaw of a very rare species. At first, the amateur archaeologist thought he had discovered a large black tooth. However, it was later determined that this was a fragment of the jaw of Panthera atrox. The length of this monster was about 2.5 meters, its height was over a meter, and it weighed around 400 kilograms. These animals went extinct more than 10,000 years ago, along with other representatives of the megafauna. It's hard for me to imagine how such creatures could live in zoos nowadays, and feeding such an animal would be quite a challenge. A 19th century ship was previously found at this site. Experts believe that the jaw was most likely being transported on that ship. Due to the drying up of the Mississippi River, archaeologists often find new artifacts. At the moment, this shipping and transportation route is facing major problems. But for archaeologists, situations like this are actually useful. And not just for them. After all, it gives us a chance to learn about our history and study the ancient world in more detail. Some archaeologists study the bottom of the Mississippi, while others found a temple on the ocean floor. The Tong Child. This is the story of a little child from Tong, whose skull, found in 1924, became one of the first ancient human fossils in Africa. The uniqueness of the Tong Child's skull lies in its structure. For the first time, scientists saw evidence of upright bipedal walking in ancient humans. It's all about an opening called the foramen magnum, through which the spinal cord connects to the brain. In this child, it is located at the front of the skull, which is typical for creatures that move on two legs, unlike apes, in which it is positioned further back. We learned about the age of the Tong Child thanks to the study of its teeth. The first molars were just beginning to erupt, which indicates that the child was very young, a little over 3 years old. Scientists suggest that the child was attacked and killed by an eagle. The evidence lies in the unique marks found at the bottom of the child's eye sockets. They are very small. They resemble those left by eagle talons and beaks when they attack monkeys. This hypothesis is also supported by the discovery of eggshells and an unusual set of animal bones at the site, mostly from small animals that are often preyed upon by modern birds of prey. The mysterious golden egg. In Alaska, researchers discovered a mysterious golden object that most closely resembles an egg from the movie Alien. Scientists quickly wondered if something alive was inside or if it was a new type of sea sponge. This mysterious artifact was discovered at a depth of 3 kilometers during an expedition led by NOAA. The most interesting thing is that it has a hole. One of the researchers suggested that something tried to get inside or come out. The scientists are shocked. They've never seen anything like this before. Carrie Howell, a deep-sea ecology expert, admitted that in her 20 years of work, she had never encountered anything like this. Murray Roberts, a marine biologist, suggested that it could be the shell of some deep-sea creature. Maybe it's even the egg of a deep-sea shark or ray. It's possible that something has already hatched from it, or swum away into the unexplored depths of the ocean. At the moment, the eggs have been sent to the laboratory for further and more precise study. Panda in the tomb. The great Chinese Emperor Wen, who lived 2,200 years ago, passed away. And here's what's interesting. Next to his final resting place, archaeologists discovered the remains of a giant panda and a tapir. Until that moment, scientists didn't even suspect that tapirs could have lived in China during the emperor's reign. And next to the tomb, many other animals were found, from mighty tigers to peacocks and golden snub-nosed monkeys. Many of them, unfortunately, are now endangered. A strange stone on the beach. Traveler Kyle Finley, while walking in the evening on Edisto Beach in South Carolina, discovered a fossilized tooth of a prehistoric American mastodon. Kyle has been vacationing at Edisto Beach with his family since childhood. Searching for fossils has always been his favorite activity. But this discovery was a complete surprise. A representative of the Natural History Museum in London confirmed that Kyle's photos do indeed show the tooth of an American mastodon, or Mammut americanum. The American mastodon is a distant relative of mammoths and elephants, which lived in North America from the late Miocene to the late Pleistocene and became extinct about 10,000 years ago. These animals were shorter and stockier than mammoths. Females grew up to 2 meters tall, males up to 3 meters. Previously, megalodon teeth and remains of other prehistoric mammals were found on this beach. A strange lynx discovery. In Hungary, archaeologists came across an unusual find, a burial of 5 animals consisting of a lynx and 4 dogs, dated to the 5th, 6th centuries AD. This discovery was made in a territory that once belonged to the Roman Empire, called Pannonia. It raised many questions, since lynxes are rarely found among archaeological finds in Europe, and even more rarely together with dogs in the same burial. The lynx skeleton was found at the bottom of a pit 1.4 meters deep, and above it, separated by layers of earth, lay the skeletons of the dogs. Interestingly, artifacts found in the nearby ancient settlement indicate that the local inhabitants mainly ate the meat of domestic animals, considering how rarely skeletons are found. Due to the rarity of lynx skeletons and no known joint burials with dogs, scientists suggest different theories. One theory suggests that the animals may have died in a deadly fight during a hunt, while another points to the possible ritual significance of the burial. However, the lack of additional artifacts leaves the exact reason and significance of this burial a mystery. This discovery challenges modern ideas about the relationships between wild and domesticated animals in ancient times, as well as the rituals and beliefs of the peoples who lived in what is now Hungary 1,500 years ago. The presence of lynxes, a large predator that has become rare in modern Europe, makes this find even more intriguing. Crocodiles in Christian churches. Imagine walking into a church and seeing a crocodile there. It sounds like the beginning of a joke, but this is a true story, because medieval European churches really were decorated with stuffed specimens of these reptiles. In the Seville Cathedral, a crocodile took up residence as early as the 13th century, thanks to King Alfonso X, who received it as a gift from the Egyptian emir. After the reptile died, its skin was stretched over a wooden frame and hung from the cathedral ceiling. In Italy's sanctuary of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy in Curtatone, a crocodile has hung for 5 centuries as a reminder of the ongoing threat of evil. And in the Chapel of the Virgin Mary in Macerata, there is another one, which, according to different versions, was either brought by crusaders or arrived in the city on its own in 1589. In the Church of St. Mary in Pontenoso, the skin of a crocodile has been preserved since 1594, despite orders to remove it. And 40 kilometers from St. Petersburg in Voronezh, in Voronian Balm, priest Oleg Yemelyanenko set up a real zoo in the Church of the Savior Spiridon, where, among other animals, Nile crocodiles also live. Thus, the stuffed crocodile in churches is not a myth, but a part of religious and cultural tradition, reflecting the historical connections and beliefs of past centuries. A 15-million-year-old fossil was discovered by Emily Bizdick, a volunteer at the Calvert Marine Museum on a beach in Maryland, USA. She found a unique fossil of a dolphin-like creature that lived about 15 million years ago. The discovery was made during a walk on the beach, where the woman found a part of a skull measuring 76 centimeters long and weighing about 23 kilograms. Stephen Groff, a museum staff member, studied the fossil and identified it as belonging to an extinct species of marine animals similar to dolphins that lived in the sea covering Maryland millions of years ago. These creatures had an extended rostrum for hunting and reached lengths from 3.5 to 4.5 meters. They lived during the Miocene epoch, 12 to 20 million years ago. The reasons for their extinction remain unknown, and the fossilized skull will be displayed at the Calvert Marine Museum, where scientists will continue to study it. The colony of icefish. A group of scientists broke through the thick layer of ice and lowered a camera half a kilometer down. They saw tens of thousands of round nests, each about the diameter of a bicycle wheel. And in each nest lives one adult fish, guarding more than 2,000 of its future offspring. The cameras recorded more than 12,000 of these fish. The total area of the spawning ground is about 240 square kilometers. These fish are called ice fish because of their unique ability to survive extreme cold. Their blood contains special substances similar to antifreeze, which allows them to live in the harsh conditions of Antarctica. As you can see, despite the cold, life in Antarctica is vibrant and thriving. The oldest whale skull. The Goddard family wanted to find a couple of teeth from ancient sharks. It's a common practice in the US for amateur paleontologists to find fragments of ancient fish and animal remains along the shore. They didn't find any shark teeth, but they did find something more remarkable and larger. It's an actual whale skull that's 12 million years old, and its size is so gigantic that it took 2 months to excavate it. Just so you understand, with a skull length of 1.5 meters, It weighed 295 kilograms. Specialists from the Museum of Paleontology congratulated Cody Goddard and his wife on such a discovery. They said that such a discovery is like winning the World Cup in paleontology. They preliminarily believe that this is an ancient Miocene baleen whale. However, we will learn the exact answer later when real paleontologists, not amateurs, study it thoroughly. At the moment, this is the most well-preserved whale skull ever found in the Calvert Cliffs area. The baleen whale, also known as Cetatherium, could swim very fast, and that's understandable because Megalodon was swimming nearby. To avoid ending up in the jaws of this predator, the whale had to move through the ocean as quickly as possible. Further thorough cleaning of the skull before it is displayed in the museum may take several more months. Devil's footprints. On the night of February 8th to 9th, 1855, mysterious hoofprints appeared in the snow of Devon. For up to 100 miles, they could be seen on rooftops, fields, and narrow streets. The trail of footprints did not stop even in front of obstacles like walls or rivers. Many believed these were the footprints of Satan himself. These tracks, also known as the devil's hoofprints, left behind an inexplicable trail. The prints resembled those of a donkey, but their placement suggested a two-legged creature. Each footprint was about 8 centimeters wide and around 10 centimeters long, with a distance of 20 to 40 centimeters between them. The tracks stretched across the Devon area, including the Exe-estuary region. One of the most unusual things was that the footprints would sometimes appear out of nowhere and then disappear. Sometimes they would stop at a haystack, only to continue again on the other side. In the Times newspaper from February 16, 1855, these tracks were called the Devil's Footprints. Many quickly associated this phenomenon with the Prince of Darkness, especially when the tracks appeared at the doorsteps of houses and around churches. Some people believed the tracks were a hoax. Some considered cats, hares, mice, and badgers as possible sources of the tracks. However, no animal could have left tracks on the roof. Of course, aliens were also mentioned. Some associated the tracks with UFOs or sea monsters. Scientist Mike Dash suggested that there could be different reasons behind the tracks. However, the exact origin of the tracks still remains unknown. Some people still believe that it was Satan himself wandering across Dev on that fateful night in 1855. What do you think about this? Write your opinion in the comments. The Armored Dragon in Mongolia. In the city of Chifeng, where the mysterious landscapes of Mongolia blend with history, archaeologists made an astonishing discovery: a dragon made out of mussel shells. This unusual dragon is part of the ancient Hongshan culture, a people who turned jade into art thousands of years ago. They created figurines that resemble pigs, dragons, and even dragon embryos. Our mussel shell dragon was found in the area of Kaitao-Pu. These shells, joined together, tell about the mystical beliefs of the Hongshan people, about their rituals and traditions. According to experts, such items were often used in ritual ceremonies. Sun Jinshan, a leading specialist in this field, considers this discovery to be the key to understanding the world of ancient dragons of the Hongshan culture. The unicorn's horn. Allow me to introduce you to the life of the medieval unicorn. This creature, although mythical, faced cruel treatment from humanity. People hunted unicorns for their magical horns, which were believed to have unique properties, such as the ability to purify water and remove poison from food. Unicorns were believed to exist according to the testimonies of many ancient scholars, including Aristotle and Ctesias, as well as great minds like Leonardo da Vinci. In the Middle Ages, unicorns symbolized purity and wisdom. Their horns became a symbol of prosperity and could serve as a way for the aristocracy to detect poisoned food. But how do you find a unicorn horn in a world where these creatures don't exist? This question was answered by using the horns of other animals, such as rhinoceroses or walruses. However, the most popular were the tusks of narwhals, animals from the Arctic, whose twisted tusks were mistakenly believed to be unicorn horns for centuries. Travelers and hunters secretly obtained these horns and sold them to Europeans as the horns of mythical creatures. Thus, merchants and great rulers like Lorenzo Medici and Queen Elizabeth I paid huge sums for these tusks, considering them symbols of power and protection. Even the great inquisitor Tomás de Torquemada never traveled without a piece of such a horn, believing it could save his life from heretics. With the development of science and the progress of research methods, belief in the miraculous properties of unicorn horns faded, and now they remain only as exhibits in museums, a reminder of how legend and reality intertwined in human history. Archaeoraptor is a 21st century forgery. The next story involves the well-known National Geographic. Archaeoraptor became famous in 1999 thanks to an exclusive feature in National Geographic, where it was claimed to be the missing link between dinosaurs and birds. However, just a few weeks later, the magazine was forced to admit that Archaeoraptor turned out to be a forgery, made up of remains from different animals glued together by Chinese farmers. After this failure, the creature was nicknamed the Piltdown bird, in reference to the famous case of the Piltdown Man forgery from the early 20th century. Dinosaur tracks in rock art. The scientific community encountered an unusual discovery in the northeast of Brazil, where a unique combination of dinosaur tracks and ancient petroglyphs was found. In the state of Paraíba, in the area of Serrote do Letreiro, researchers discovered fossilized footprints of theropods, sauropods, and iguanodonts from the early Cretaceous period, as well as pre-colonial rock paintings. This unique site combines ancient tracks and art, creating a symbolic connection between painting and fossils. Previously, petroglyphs were also found near dinosaur tracks, but never in such close interaction. Researchers believe that ancient artists deliberately chose locations near ancient tracks for their drawings. This highlights a deep perception of the connection between art and natural phenomena. Petroglyphs, which previously received less attention, are now being studied together with ancient tracks. The rock paintings are circular figures with radial lines and other geometric motifs, the meaning of which remains a mystery for now. Among the drawings, there is an image resembling nets, stars, and snakes, indicating a diversity of styles and possibly the presence of several authors. Globster mermaid. Masses of unrecognizable organic matter that are occasionally washed up on the beach have been called globsters. These could be the remains of sea creatures, but without distinct features. They are difficult to identify. Another such object found in Papua New Guinea quickly became an internet sensation. It is being called a mermaid or a sea monster. The mysterious globster was discovered on Simberi Island, a small volcanic island in Papua New Guinea. The discovery attracted a lot of attention because of its strange shape. It had a tail, but many other parts were missing. Scientists are still trying to figure out what it is. A whale, a dolphin, a dugong, a shark, or maybe even a mermaid. Photos of this mystical creature quickly went viral on social media. Jens Carey from the Pacific Whale Foundation believes that it could have been a sea cow found off the coast of the island. On the other hand, Sasha Cooker from the University of St. Andrews in Scotland believes that it was a cetacean. The exact origin of the globster will likely remain a mystery, since the locals buried it and DNA analysis is impossible. And what do you think it could have been? A strange, long stone. In the history of archaeology, there are discoveries made not only by scientists, but also by ordinary people, often completely unexpectedly. That's how a farmer from Michigan, James Bristle, stumbled upon an archaeological sensation when he decided to lay a gas pipeline through his ranch. When he started digging, James didn't expect any surprises, since the soil here was fertile and free of stones. But soon, the excavator hit something. Afraid of damaging the rented machine, the farmer stopped and decided to check the obstacle with a shovel. It turned out that it wasn't a stone, but something smooth and hard. Digging by hand, James soon realized that he was looking at a huge bone. He called his neighbors for help, and soon they managed to find several more large bones. At first, no one could say for sure which animal they belonged to. After a few hours, the amateur archaeologists dug down to a place where the bones joined into one large skull with tusks. Initially, the farmers assumed it was an elephant, but to be sure, they called real scientists from the University of Michigan. Upon arrival, Professor Fisher quickly determined that the remains were from a mammoth and were in excellent condition. He wanted to take the bones for study, but James refused to give them up, citing laws that allow the landowner to dispose of the finds at their own discretion. In the end, the farmer displayed the remains in his store, attracting tourists and scientists from all over the country, and additionally selling his products. Dinosaur embryo. A unique discovery was made at the Yingliang Stone Natural History Museum in China. In storage, where the exhibit had been for more than 10 years, a fully formed dinosaur embryo was discovered inside a fossilized egg. This discovery, according to IFL Science, provides new information about the connection between dinosaurs and modern birds. This dinosaur embryo, estimated to be 66 to 72 million years old, belongs to the Oviraptorosaurs, a group of theropods characterized by their winged and toothless structure. Interestingly, its posture, recorded inside the egg, is typical for birds, specifically with the head tucked under the wing, which is characteristic of chicks preparing to hatch. The discovery suggests that this posture may have first appeared in the ancient ancestors of modern birds, the theropods. The embryo was nicknamed Baby Yingliang in honor of the museum where it was found. Mummified crocodiles. In a new study published this year in PLOS 1, scientists from Belgium and Spain described an unusual method of crocodile mummification in Egypt in the village of Kubat al-Hawa around the 5th century BC. Crocodiles held a special place in Egyptian culture. They were associated with the deity Sebek, served as a source of food, and their components were used in medicine. Although mummified crocodiles are often found during excavations, they are rarely subjected to detailed analysis. This time, the researchers decided to conduct such an analysis on 10 mummies from Kubat al-Hawa. The researchers determined that the mummies represent two species of crocodiles, ranging in size from 1.5 to 3.5 meters. A distinctive feature of these mummies is the absence of resin or bitumen in their composition, which indicates a process of drying in hot sand before burial. This method was common before the Ptolemaic era, when resin began to be actively used. In some mummies, pieces of linen and palm leaves were found, used after the bodies had dried. The largest snake in the world. If you suffer from ophidiophobia, the fear of snakes, it's better to skip this part of the video. But for everyone else, welcome to the world of paleontological discoveries in India. So a team of scientists from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, made an amazing discovery. The researchers accidentally found the fossils of a giant ancient reptile. Imagine a snake 15 meters long and weighing 1 ton, which lived in what is now India 47 million years ago. This species was named Vasuki indicus, after the mythological serpent king in Hindu mythology, who is associated with the god Shiva. This snake turned out to be even larger than the Colombian Titanoboa, which was previously considered the largest snake in the world. The remains of Titanoboa were discovered in Colombia in 2009, and it lived about 60 million years ago. Despite its impressive size, Vasuki indicus was not venomous. It killed its prey by constricting them, similar to modern anacondas and pythons. Vasuki indicus was a slow ambush predator that lived in swampy areas near the coast during a time when global temperatures were significantly higher than they are today. The fossils were found in an area that is now dry and dusty, but the presence of a large aquatic predator indicates that there were once swamps here. An egg with liquid white and yolk. In Britain, archaeologists discovered a unique chicken egg from the Roman Empire era that has been preserved with its liquid contents. The discovery was made in Buckinghamshire, along with other artifacts near a Roman road. It is believed that the site was used for ritual offerings. Out of the 4 eggs found, only 1 remained intact, containing liquid, probably a mixture of white and yolk. This discovery provides new data about ancient agriculture in the region. According to archaeologists from the Museum of Natural History, this is the oldest known preserved bird egg. A giant creature with hundreds of legs. Scientists have created an amazing reconstruction of the appearance of Arthropleura, a giant millipede that lived on Earth 300 million years ago. This creature was about 2.6 meters long, half a meter wide, and weighed around 50 kilograms, making it the largest millipede that ever lived. The first fossilized remains of Arthropleura were discovered 170 years ago, but a complete skeleton was found only 5 years ago, which allowed scientists from the University of Leicester and the University of Bristol to better understand the anatomy of this creature. Experts suggest that the high level of oxygen in the atmosphere at that time contributed to the gigantic size not only of Arthropleura, but also of other arthropods, such as giant dragonflies and cockroaches. Ancient millipedes, similar to their modern descendants, were almost blind and had only basic vision, enough to navigate light levels. The oldest dinosaur in Africa is a small dinosaur with a long neck, discovered by a team of paleontologists under the guidance of specialists from Virginia Tech in the United States. It became the key to new discoveries about the migration of ancient reptiles. The species was named Mberosaurus reddi. This sauropodomorph is the oldest dinosaur fossil found in Africa, dating back to about 230 million years ago. In size, it reached approximately 180 centimeters in length and weighed between 9 and 30 kilograms. The discovery was made in Zimbabwe and made an important contribution to understanding the geographical distribution of ancient dinosaurs. It was previously believed that the climatic conditions of Pangaea limited animal migration, but the find in Zimbabwe suggests otherwise. Research shows that dinosaurs could spread farther than previously thought. Mberosaurus reddi, despite its modest size, plays an important role in studying the history of ancient reptiles, providing new data on migration routes and climatic conditions that contributed to their spread across the globe. The hand of an alien. Walking along the beach in Brazil, you can find seashells, pebbles, little crabs, and the hand of an alien. That's exactly what happened to a couple who decided to take a romantic walk along the shore of the Atlantic Ocean. The bony hand with long fingers looks like the friendly alien from Steven Spielberg's movie E.T. It would seem that this is real proof of an alien's presence on our planet, even if not the whole alien. Leticia Gomez Santiago and her boyfriend, Diva Nersuza, took lots of photos and posted them online. After all, where can you find the best experts on any topic? Of course, on the internet. Marine biologist Eric Komen came across the photos and debunked all the myths about the discovery. He believes that the hand belongs to a member of the cetacean order, a group of mammals that includes whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And its terrifying appearance is due to the stage of decomposition, which lasts about 1.5 years. For many years, people have been trying to find any clear evidence of the existence of extraterrestrial life. But scientists always come along who can explain this or that artifact from a scientific point of view. In this case, the discovery indicates that cetaceans, which now live in seas and oceans, used to walk on land 50 million years ago. Under the webbed flesh of a whale's or dolphin's flipper, there are 5 fingers, or a 5-fingered limb. Such a structure is found in humans, amphibians, and a number of other animals, which points to their common ancestor. The couple not only took photos, but also filmed the hand on video to show how big it is. The biologist thinks this is part of a dolphin, and there are a lot of them here. Usually, such bones should not be removed from the beach, so as not to disrupt the natural nutrient cycle in the ecosystem. However, scientists hurry to study recently deceased animals in order to determine the exact cause of death. It may not just be one dolphin's accidental death, but the start of a large-scale epidemic or animal extinction from harmful substances in the water. Parasite eggs that are 200 million years old. Modern parasites, like the well-known ones, play a key role in ecosystems. However, paleontologists from Mahasarakham University in Thailand have made a breakthrough in understanding their historical presence. By examining fossilized droppings of ancient animals, they found ancient parasites in them, including roundworms called ascarids. This discovery followed a report by Russian scientists about the revival of an ancient worm from the Siberian permafrost. Working with coprolites, about 200 million years old, scientists discovered structures corresponding to 5 types of parasites. Interest in these fossils arose thanks to local residents of Thailand, who considered them lucky charms because of their unusual shape. This is the first known example of finding parasites in a terrestrial vertebrate from the late Triassic period in Asia. It is also one of the few records of preserved ascarid eggs in the coprolites of ancient animals. These parasites were found in the excrement, apparently belonging to a phytosaur or another crocodile-like reptile from the Triassic period. The discovery enhances our understanding of how parasites interacted with their hosts in ancient times. The oldest animal battle, 125 million years ago. The ancient world was inhabited by dinosaurs, and now archaeologists have discovered something incredible: the remains of a dinosaur and a mammal frozen in combat. The first participant in this ancient battle is Psittacosaurus, a dinosaur the size of a modern dog. The second is Rapinomamus, an ancestor that resembles a badger, but it's not a cute forest dweller. Despite its small size, it was one of the largest mammals of its time. Scientists are sure that Rapinomamus attacked a living dinosaur. It was previously thought that mammals were afraid of dinosaurs, but this discovery changes the game. The scene of this ancient struggle was discovered in China, and the remains were preserved thanks to a volcanic eruption that froze this scene in time for millions of years. Who witnessed the extinction of the dinosaurs? Imagine this: you're out for a walk and you meet a dinosaur. Crazy thought, right? But today's story is exactly about that. Hold on tight, because scientists have discovered something incredible. Dinosaurs and the ancestors of humans lived together on the same planet. This amazing story was told to us by scientists from Bristol University and Freiburg University. They studied mammal fossils and concluded that our distant ancestors, placental mammals, including primates, appeared before the dinosaurs disappeared. We always thought that dinosaurs went extinct, and then mammals, including our ancestors, came onto the scene. But scientists are challenging this idea. Imagine the scene: small primates, maybe your great whatever ancestors, you get the idea, running past huge dinosaurs. It's strange and funny to imagine that, isn't it? Emily Carlisle, one of the authors of this study, said that they examined thousands of fossils and noticed some interesting patterns in the emergence and extinction of different groups of animals. According to their estimates, mammals actually evolved during the period when dinosaurs were still alive. In general, our ancestors could have witnessed the amazing event of the extinction of the dinosaurs. And although we don't know exactly what they looked like, most likely they were small creatures from the primate order. This truly amazing discovery changes our understanding of the past of our planet. Remains of monsters. Researchers who struggled for decades with the harsh Antarctic conditions have discovered the fossilized remains of an Elasmosaurus. These were true titans of the Cretaceous period, living alongside dinosaurs. Scientists have discovered most of this giant's skeleton. It's true, the head was missing, but even without it, they drew a conclusion. This creature weighed between 12 and 15 tons and was about 12 meters long. Can you imagine? For comparison, previously they had found an Elasmosaurus weighing about 5 tons, and members of the genus Aristonectes up to 11 tons. However, scientists are not completely sure which genus our giant belongs to. It might be a genus unknown to us. And here's something else interesting. This marine giant lived about 30,000 years before the extinction of the dinosaurs, which confirms the theory that elasmosaurs inhabited the late Cretaceous period. Crocodile stone. And now let's head to the amazing mountains of Laos. where the ancient ruins of the Wat Pu Temple are hidden. Among the ruins of this temple, archaeologists found a very strange thing, a huge boulder with carvings resembling a crocodile. But what's even more interesting is that this indentation is the size of a human. Many people believe that this stone was used as an altar for human sacrifices. If that's true, then such rituals could have taken place back in the days of Chinla, the ancient empire that ruled these lands. According to legends, every year when the frangipani petals began to fall, the king of Chinla would pray to the mountain spirits and offer rice wine to the two most beautiful girls. Then the girls were sacrificed to the gods. Such sacrifices are described in 6th century Sui history. All this time, the community far from the big cities has preserved this story, which suggests its possible authenticity. However, it is unknown what role the crocodile rock played in these rituals. This unique carving makes it even more mysterious. Nothing like this has been found in the ruins of Laos or Cambodia. And here is the question. If the crocodile rock was not used for sacrifices, then what was it for? The oldest bats. Amazingly, scientists have discovered remarkable finds in the state of Wyoming, USA. 2 fossilized bat skeletons that are as much as 52 million years old. Such ancient skeletons have been discovered for the first time, and they belong to a previously unknown species of bat. These little creatures were slightly smaller than their modern relatives and could easily fit in the palm of a person's hand. Scientists conducted a comparative study of the fossil with other species and determined that they belonged to a new species, which was named Icoranicterus. Scientific research is ongoing, and scientists believe that these bats evolved independently from other species that lived during the Eocene epoch. They are studying the diversity of ancient bats to find out their evolutionary adaptations and to look for clues about who could have been their common ancestor. So friends, this amazing discovery by paleontologists opens up new horizons for studying the past of our planet and helps us understand how the world has changed over millions of years. Perhaps this knowledge will help us better understand and preserve nature and animals on Earth in the future. Archaeoraptor, a forgery of the 21st century. The next story involves the well-known National Geographic. Archaeoraptor became famous in 1999 thanks to an exclusive feature in National Geographic, where it was claimed to be the missing link between dinosaurs and birds. However, just a few weeks later, the magazine was forced to admit that Archaeoraptor turned out to be a forgery, made up of remains from different animals glued together by Chinese farmers. After this failure, the creature was nicknamed the Piltdown bird, in reference to the famous case of the Piltdown Man forgery from the early 20th century. The creepy mermaid mystery is solved. I've already talked about this creepy mermaid several times. You might have seen videos about this discovery on YouTube, but only now has the real truth about it been revealed. Researchers in Japan conducted an in-depth analysis of the artifact kept at the Injuan Temple in the city of Asakuchi. The mummy of an unusual creature, 30 centimeters long, with a scaly fishtail, a head resembling a human's, and 2 arms, attracted the interest of tourists and scientists from all over the world. Scientists carefully studied its composition by X-raying it and published the results. Japanese mythology is significantly different from Greek and Slavic mythology. I would say that in Japanese mythology, monsters are much more creepy and frightening. So in Japanese myths, there is a creature that lives in the water called Ningyo. Basically, these are like mermaids, but not as beautiful. Hollywood movies love to turn something scary into something beautiful and kind. That's how they turned Ningyo into beautiful mermaids, and they turned medieval sea murderers and robbers into kind, romantic pirates. No one knows how the mummy of the Ninjo ended up in the Injuan Temple. However, the same temple keeps a handwritten document from 1903, which says that the mermaid was caught in Kochi Prefecture between 1736 and 1741. In fact, several similar specimens are kept in Japanese museums, and only one of them has been studied in detail nowadays using the most modern equipment. Scientists used every possible method to examine the mummy and now they can confidently state what it is made of. Usually, such Frankensteins were made from the skeleton of a monkey and a fish, but in our case, the skeleton in the upper part of the torso was missing. Scanning showed that the object is made of fabric, cotton, and paper, covered with a mixture of charcoal paste and sand. The head is mostly made of cotton and covered with something like plaster. The hair on the head is animal fur, and the scales are from two types of fish. The upper body is covered with pufferfish skin, and the lower body with croaker scales. The fingernails are made from animal horn, and the jaw with sharp teeth used to belong to some kind of carnivorous fish. Radiocarbon analysis of the fish scales showed that it was made after the 1800s. Of course, all of this turned out to be fake, and neither mermaids nor ningyo exist in nature. But this object will remain a valuable exhibit in the museum. In any case, the mummy was made very skillfully and thoughtfully, which is why it has been preserved for 200 years. And also the prehistoric omelet made from ostrich eggs. I've already talked about ancient dinosaur eggs many times. I've mentioned chicken eggs, but how could I miss the oldest ostrich eggs? Israeli archaeologists found 8 ostrich eggs in the sand dunes of Nitsana in the Negev. Their age and preservation are astonishing. They're approximately between 4 and 7.5 thousand years old. If they had been kept in a refrigerator, we would have had the chance to make the oldest omelet from ostrich eggs. More than 5,000 years ago, there was a camp of ancient nomads here. Archaeologists discovered flint and stone tools, burnt stones, and shards of clay pottery. But the most important find is the ostrich eggs. The dry climate of this region helped preserve the artifacts to this day. Until the 19th century, there were many wild ostriches in this region. It was a natural habitat for them. Ostrich eggs were an important raw material and source of nutrition throughout the entire time of their existence. Numerous findings testify to this. 1 ostrich egg is equivalent to 25 chicken eggs. An omelet like that can feed a huge family and provide them with all the essential minerals. Interestingly, archaeologists have found a lot of ostrich eggshells, but they haven't come across ostrich bones. Most likely, people in ancient times avoided direct contact with ostriches and preferred to eat only stolen eggs. This find of 8 eggs supports the hypothesis that people deliberately brought eggs here and cooked them over a fire. However, it's not just the sand that helps preserve artifacts in their original state. 250 fossilized titanosaur eggs. Large reserves of ancient dinosaur eggs have been preserved not only in China. This time, archaeologists from the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research and paleontologists from Delhi University brought us some good news. In the central and western parts of the country, 256 fossilized eggs of ancient reptiles were discovered. In total, the researchers found more than 90 nesting sites of ancient titanosaur reptiles that lived in India 67 million years ago. Paleontologists noted that most of the eggs were located in one place and were pressed against each other. It seems that more than 60 million years ago, a female titanosaur left her offspring here and never returned to this place again. All the eggs belong to one species of dinosaur. However, the number of eggs in the nest varied, and they also differed in size. This discovery of eggs tells us that their population was much larger than previously thought, and they nested in colonies. Titanosaurs were plant eaters. The giant reptiles lived in what is now Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America during the late Cretaceous period. It's hard to imagine that these giants had a body length of up to 9 to 12 meters and weighed up to 13 tons, which is a huge amount by the standards of modern animals. The ancient wolf from the permafrost. During an expedition in Siberia, an incredible discovery was made. The ancient wolf was amazingly well preserved in the permafrost. The wolf carcass, discovered at a depth of about 40 meters near the Teretak River in the Abiski district of Yakutia, was transferred to the Mammoth Museum in Yakutsk for further research. The condition of the wolf amazed scientists. After 44,000 years, its fur, bones, organs, and even its fearsome teeth were preserved. Experts call this discovery unprecedented, as it is the oldest known wolf to have been dissected. They hope that studying the stomach and other organs will shed light on the wolf's diet and environment. The stomach remained isolated without contamination, which will allow scientists to get an instant snapshot of the biota from the ancient Pleistocene period. Studying its contents can reveal not only what the wolf ate, but also what its prey consumed. Based on the wear of the teeth and the development of the sagittal crest, it has already been determined that this is an adult male. The study of ancient bacteria can help in the development of new medicines and biotechnological products, which highlights the tremendous significance of this discovery for the future. This discovery not only reveals the mysteries of the ancient world, but also opens new horizons for science and medicine. Piltdown Man, the fake missing link. I've already talked about this discovery myself in my previous videos. In 1912, British amateur archaeologist Charles Dawson announced the discovery of skull fragments that were believed to be the missing link between ape and man. Reconstructed with the help of paleontologist Arthur Smith Woodward, the skull was presented as Eanthropus dawsoni, or Dawson's early man, who lived 500,000 years ago. This discovery was supposed to be a worldwide sensation and finally put a definitive end to the debate on human evolution. However, in 1953, the scientific community concluded that the Piltdown Man was a hoax, created by combining human and ape bones. This discovery undermined trust in the scientific community and still serves as a reminder of possible mistakes and fraud in archaeology. As for the identity of the perpetrator of the forgery, it is assumed that it could have been Charles Dawson himself, but it was not possible to definitively establish his involvement in the hoax. The story of the Piltdown Man remains a sad reminder that archaeologists can deliberately lie, and most importantly, create knowingly fake ancient artifacts and mislead all of humanity for many years. The discovery in the Saudi Arabian desert. Long ago, long before the construction of the Egyptian pyramids and Stonehenge, people created remarkably detailed carvings of animals. In the Saudi Arabian desert, huge 3D images of camels and horses have been found on rocks. At first, scientists thought they were 2,000 years old, but it turned out that they are even older than Stonehenge. All this happened during the Neolithic era, when there were trees and lakes around. People had not yet domesticated camels, and might have even hunted them. The rock drawings served as a meeting place for ancient people. To create such images, people used flint tools and spent about 10 to 15 days on each one. The carved figures appear layered, highlighting the complexity of their creation. Scientists initially made a mistake with the age of these drawings because dating stone carvings is a difficult task. However, after conducting various studies, they found out that the drawings are over 7,000 to 8,000 years old. This is much older than Stonehenge's 5,000-year age. Thus, these ancient drawings of camels and horses in the desert are some of the oldest large-scale, three-dimensional images of animals in the world. A prehistoric lizard, 10 meters long. Imagine you're exploring the Texas desert and suddenly stumble upon a huge fossilized tail. That's exactly what happened to paleontologist Stephen Cruz from the Perot Museum of Nature and Science. While walking in northern Texas, he noticed part of a spine sticking out of the ground. But this wasn't the spine of an ordinary lizard. It belonged to a real ancient sea monster. As the excavation continued, the scientists discovered a fossilized skull, a lower jaw, and even more vertebrae of the giant. They realized they had found the remains of an ancient lizard that was 10 meters long. Can you imagine that? That's like 5 people lying head to toe, one after another. And this giant lizard lived in the seas that were there 80 million years ago. Ron Tukoski, the museum director and curator of vertebrate paleontology, was not surprised by this discovery. He explained that in those distant times, almost all of central Texas was underwater. According to him, the warm seawaters and abundance of food created ideal conditions for giants like mosasaurs to live. Modern monitor lizards are descendants of these huge carnivorous lizards that lived alongside mosasaurs during the Cretaceous period. The work at the excavation site is not finished yet, and scientists are eagerly waiting for autumn so they can return and continue the excavations. Who knows what else they will discover? Mummified penguins. Researchers from China discovered a cemetery of mummified penguins in Antarctica, and many of them were just chicks. At first, scientists thought that the penguins didn't survive 2 periods of extreme precipitation. But penguins live in Antarctica and are used to the cold and snow, so something doesn't quite add up here. Now, scientists suggest that climate change is to blame for these mass penguin deaths. In their opinion, the increased humidity caused by global warming could have led to this tragedy. As it turned out, the penguins were not prepared for such conditions and died immediately. This happened twice, about 750 and 200 years ago. Scientists determined this using radiocarbon dating, and it seems the penguins did not die immediately, but rather died gradually. A cemetery of ancient relatives of elephants. We have news from the world of ancient animals that will definitely surprise you. Imagine ancient elephants. They are not just big, they are gigantic. Their teeth were so huge that they were called gomphotheres, which means tusks like swords. And they are the heroes of our video today. Representatives of the Florida Museum of Natural History made an amazing discovery at the Montbrook site. There, where a river flowed millions of years ago, they found the fossilized remains of these giants. These huge animals died here over the centuries. As Jonathan Block, the museum curator, stated, "This is the find of the century." The discovered gomphothere skeleton is the most complete in Florida and one of the most intact in North America. Its age is about 5.5 million years. But the most amazing thing about this story is that scientists found several skeletons at once. Usually, archaeologists find only separate parts of skeletons. But here, several complete skeletons were found, including the skeleton of an adult and 7 younger ones. According to scientists, these ancient elephants did not die at the same time. Most likely, the gomphotheres got stuck in the same place at different times. Perhaps it was some kind of cursed place where they ended up trapped. But that's just a guess. The missing link in evolution. Human descent from apes can be debated endlessly. However, individual stories of people indirectly support this theory. So at a show in Philadelphia, they presented the missing link between humans and apes. Crow, a girl from Siam, Thailand, who was born in 1876. Since birth, she was covered with hair, including a silky mane between her shoulder blades. At the age of 6, she was found by the showman, the Great Farini, who took the girl on a tour around Europe and then to the United States. Crow became a star of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Crow was nicknamed the Monkey Woman. She was often associated with Darwin's missing link. It was assumed that she belonged to a race of ape-like people who lived in trees. Despite the controversy of this claim, many famous naturalists and scientists accepted this version. Many works have been written about Crow, including the book Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine from 1896, where her anthropomorphic features are described in detail. In fact, Crow was an intelligent and educated woman who knew several languages and suffered from hypertrichosis. Unlike others, Crow was not exploited and led a dignified life, presenting herself on her own terms. She spent the last 20 years of her life in a private apartment, where she delighted guests and neighbors with her culinary skills and charm. Crow died of influenza on April 16, 1926, never having married, but remaining true to her unique way of life. Griffins from the pharmacy. Now let's head into the heart of mystical St. Petersburg, where the walls of old houses are literally imbued with the spirit of the past. And our characters today are an incredibly intriguing Russian chemist and his griffins. Alexander Vasilyevich Pell is a scientist, a brilliant chemist, a teacher, and the publisher of his own journal. He opened and owned one of the oldest pharmacies in St. Petersburg invented a unique method for storing medicines in glass ampules, and even developed his own drugs. However, it is his alchemical experiments that are at the center of our attention today. Imagine the famous chemist, using his powerful scientific and technical resources, not only works on solving important medical problems, but also searches for the philosopher's stone, or rather, as they say, he found it. But that's not all. In the courtyard of Pell's pharmacy on Vasilyevsky Island was his laboratory, where, according to city rumors, the chemist bred griffins. Yes, those very creatures from myths and legends. At night, they supposedly left their tower, now known as the Griffin Tower, and fluttered around the area, frightening the local residents. In the 1990s, mysterious numbers began to appear on the tower, which fans of mysticism immediately declared to be the formula for happiness, created by Pell himself. In reality, it was an art project by a St. Petersburg artist, but these numbers continue to be updated to this day. So fans of mysterious stories, if you are lucky enough to visit St. Petersburg, be sure to check out the museum located in this tower. Who knows, maybe you'll be lucky and see the shadows of the griffins or their reflections in the windows of the neighboring houses. Or maybe you'll even manage to decipher that very formula for happiness. After all, as they say, until proven otherwise, griffins exist. Maybe they're just waiting for their moment to give each of us our own piece of happiness. And I'm ready to share with you stories about new archaeological discoveries and fascinating events from the past that take your breath away. Leave a kind comment on the video, and I'll do my best to reply. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.